Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard and the team with you here for the next hour, looking ahead to the latest sporting action on the Isle of Man this weekend. Coming up tonight. 3 teams are locked level on points at the top of the Canada Life Men's Premier League going into tomorrow's latest Isle of Man football fixtures. With a break in rugby proceedings this weekend, we assess how the respective Manx clubs have started their respective seasons in these early stages, and multiple sides will be able to maintain their 100% starts to the Isle of Man Mixed Hockey Leagues ahead of Gameweek 3 on Saturday. That is all to come this evening. Welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio, your latest look ahead to all the football, rugby and hockey action across the Isle of Man and further afield. No rugby action this weekend, but we will be taking a little bit of an assessment as to how the local teams have been doing so far this evening. Also coming up, we'll be taking our regular look through the latest Isle of Man football fixtures coming up this weekend. 3 teams locked together on 13 points at the top of the Canada Life Men's Premier League amongst the ties, as well as the teams looking to try and catch Castletown at the top of Division 2 this week. We'll also be taking a look at this weekend's Isle of Man Mixed Hockey League fixtures, and joining us later on, in fact we'll just get a quick word from him now. He's been extremely keen. He's here straight from the start, our hockey correspondent Ben Cunningham. And before we obviously get to the fixtures, we'll come to those a little later on. I just want to quickly reflect on the cup draw that we did on Saturday Sport Classified last weekend for the first round of the Isle of Man Mixed Cup competitions. They'll be played on Saturday the 18th of October, and for those who missed it, Ben, boy oh boy did we get some great draws.
Oh, we got some fantastic draws. The hand of Rob Pritchard really worked his magic on the draw there.
There was nothing intended, I want to make that absolutely clear.
But it was a fantastic draw. There is some fantastic ties, and I'm still yet to decide which one I'm going to go to.
I remember because the first one we had, the very first one, and I think you've been saying as well that people in the hockey fraternity, if you like, had quite a big reaction to this one. In the Mixed Cup, 2 of the arguably the biggest contenders for that particular piece of silverware, Vikings A and Backers A, drawn together in the first round, Ben. And that was the first draw we had.
Yeah, you just couldn't write it, really. And I mean, when you pulled it out, I was like, oh my word, to have that in the first round. Yeah, it's going to be some tie that really could decide things. But as I said, could we have a new name on the trophy this year? We'll wait and see.
We will indeed. And just looking elsewhere, actually, the Mixed Bowl. So this also features 4 games in the first round. The Mixed Cup and the Mixed Bowl featuring 4 fixtures in the first round. The Mixed Plate with 2 and 2 teams with a bye. But we somehow avoided in the Mixed Bowl a Castletown derby, considering there were 3 Castletown teams in there.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I actually thought we were going to get a Castletown derby in the first round. We haven't. There is a chance that we might get it in the second round, depending on how results go. But yeah, we managed to avoid the Castletown derby in the first round, which was great. But there's some fantastic ties, and like I say, I'm still on the fence at the minute of which game I'm going to go and cover. I might have to split myself up at every pitch. I don't know yet.
I was going to say, because you do end up doing quite a lot of jobs. You don't just report for us here on Manx Radio. You're a player and an umpire as well. But actually, just on the subject of umpires, very quickly as well, how are we looking this weekend in terms of games being having the personnel they need officials wise?
Really good. By Wednesday, we had every game with an appointed umpire. We tried something different this weekend with regarding the appointments of the umpires. So we got the clubs to speak with their umpires, and the clubs have basically came back and said that basically this umpire can do this game, this umpire can do that game, and so forth. And it's really worked quite well, and potentially that could be the way forward now regarding the umpiring appointments. It's a case of we'll send a list out to all clubs and we'll go, right, get your umpires to fill this in.
And of course it comes back to something we've covered quite a few times, as well as the fact that it's about also making sure more officials come into the sport, because there will be those who eventually step away for one reason or another. So that must be quite encouraging to know that you've got others coming in to fill those shoes, if you like, in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we had the influx of 20 new umpires train up last season to start their umpiring officiation on the island, and it was great to see that they've all took up the whistle and they are all out there umpiring, and it's great to see a number of them all qualifying for their level 1, and hopefully they'll progress on forward now and maybe do their level 2, level 3. But yeah, when it comes to the level 2 and the level 3, that involves going away as well. So it'll be great for the Isle of Man and the Manx Hockey Association to have umpires representing the Isle of Man going away umpiring fixtures for the island teams, because of course when we send the island teams away, we have to send an umpire with them if we can provide one, and we've got lots of willing people who are willing to do that.
And that brings me on to the point of the Ireland teams, both senior and junior side of things as well. I would, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ben, the Isle of Man is going to have teams representing across the different age groups again this season.
Yes, absolutely. So training and squad training sessions are all ongoing as we speak. A couple of the island teams have had friendlies before the start of the season. So once we get the first round of fixtures, we'll get them straight to you and published on Manx Radio's website.
Indeed. Well, let's just take a quick look then at the draw for the first round of the 2025 Isle of Man Mixed Cup competitions in hockey. Ties to be played on Saturday the 18th of October in the Mixed Cup. Vikings A versus Backers A, one of the standout ties. Also Valkyries A taking on Harlequins A. Backers B versus Castletown Celts, and Vikings B versus Castletown Southerners in the mixed plate. Only 2 games taking place in the first round. They are Ramsey A versus Valkyries C, Vikings C versus Backers C, and then there are byes for 2 teams into the second round, and they are for Harlequins B and Valkyries B as well. And in the mixed bowl, 4 fixtures there in the first round. They are Ramsey Ravens versus Vikings D, Valkyries D versus Castletown Cushags, Backers Colts versus Castletown Camags, and Harlequins C versus Castletown Cosney as well. So away from the hockey side of things, a couple of the other headlines that have been in the news here on the Isle of Man in the last couple of days. One of those looking at Manx Commonwealth athletes are being invited to take part in the King's Baton Relay ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Anyone who has ever represented the Isle of Man at a Commonwealth Games is being invited to take part in the relay, and the event takes place around the world before the start of the Commonwealth Games, with the baton carrying a message from the head of the Commonwealth, King Charles III. The next Games in Glasgow taking place will starting on the 23rd of July next year, and the baton will be visiting the Isle of Man between the 13th and 18th of June 2026. Well, for any previous athletes from the Isle of Man who've taken part in a previous Commonwealth Games, they're invited to email Victoria at kingsbatonrelay, all one word, all lowercase, at gmail.com, and the relay team will need to know which games you competed in, which sport, and also whether you still have your kit as well. Actually, this year as well, for the first time ever, every Commonwealth nation and territory will receive their own baton for their celebrations, and have been asked to customise and decorate this baton to represent their culture. Well, the Manx theme is Manx heritage and culture, and in the last couple of months as well, there has been an invite sent out to artists across the Isle of Man to actually submit their designs to potentially represent the Isle of Man on the Isle of Man baton for the Games next year. All 74 batons will then be reunited at the opening ceremony of Glasgow 2026, where the Scotland baton of the host will be presented to His Majesty, and the message read aloud to declare the Games open. Also looking ahead and into this weekend as well, one of the Isle of Man's martial arts competitors has got a big opportunity once again on the world stage from this weekend. Alana Pritchard will be chasing a second world title elsewhere this weekend. The fighter from Ramsey is contesting the 2025 IMMAF World Championships in Tbilisi, Georgia, from the 27th of October to the 2nd of November. And representing England, Pritchard will be hoping to replicate the gold medal she took at the meeting in 2024, because in November last year, the 22-year-old took IMMAF World Championships gold in the senior women's super welterweight class. She beat Angola's Anna Fernanda via technical knockout in the final when the event was held in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. And just a quick reminder for those of a tennis persuasion that Billy Harris has progressed to the quarterfinals of this year's Jingshan Open on the ATP Challenger Tour in China. The former Ireland player defeated Canadian 8th seed Liam Draxel in straight sets 6-4, 6-4 of the men's singles competition in the early hours of this morning. And Harris, whose previous clubs include Albany and Castletown, will now face Australian qualifier Alex Bolt in the last 8. Furthermore, Harris is yet to drop a set at the tournament, having also won in straight sets against Petr Biryukov in the first round. So best of luck to Billy Harris on that one. Well, we'll turn our attentions back to hockey and then take a look to the fixtures that are going to be taking place this weekend. So matches taking place across all 4 senior divisions and also 3 fixtures across the mixed under-15s league. So Ben, let's take a look at the mixed Premier League as well. Starting off chronologically, we'll take the earlier pushback, 12:35 at King William's College, and that sees Vikings A, who had that shock defeat to Backers B last weekend, taking on Castletown Celts.
Yeah, Castletown Celts just got the better of Valkyries A last weekend, and then for Vikings, of course, that narrow 4-3 defeat to Battersby. It will have hurt Vikings, definitely, and they'll know that they'll need to make amends of that loss. But then, we've said it numerous years, Rob, a Castletown team, you just don't know what they could just pull off here. And Vikings, losing that game last weekend, I think Castletown possibly could cause a shock here this weekend.
And elsewhere, there are other 3 games in the Mixed Premier League this weekend, all pushing back at 2:05. One of those at the NSC sees the current league leaders back as 2 wins from 2, scoring 21 goals in that time and conceding just the 2. They're taking on the second place side of them at Harlequins, who've had a positive start to the season, Ben. Were undefeated in their opening 2 games with a win and a draw here, but looking at the stats to start with, on paper at least, Ben, it's hard to look past Bacchusset at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Bacchusset scoring goals left, right and centre, as you say. Harlequins, though, they'll be really happy with the way that their season has started, a win and a draw. Bacchusset, though, for Harlequins, it's going to be one of them where they're going to have to try and stop Bacchusset getting into the D and having shots, because clearly when they get into that shooting area, they're just going to finish them, and it's going to be a tough day at the office for Harlequins, but I'm sure they'll give Backers a good game, but I can see this going Backers' way.
Elsewhere in the west of the island at QE2 at 2:05. Mixed start for Valkyrie, a win and a defeat in their opening 2 games. They're taking on Castan Southerners, newly promoted, Ben, and 2 defeats for them in their opening 2 games, but maybe some positive signs in some of the performances they've had.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, they gave Harlequins a good run for their money last weekend. It was only 2-2 at half-time when they were playing last weekend, and to lose that game 4-2, it shows how close the game was. Valkyrie, like I say, they had that narrow defeat to Castletown Celts last weekend. They'll want to make amends and hope that they don't get beaten by Southerners this weekend, so I'm going to go for a Valkyrie win on that one.
And the fourth and final Mixed Premier League game this weekend, 2:05 at King William's College in the south of the island, is a meeting of 2 of the B teams in the division, and that's going to see Vikings B taking on Backers B. Vikings B, bottom of the table at the moment, 2 defeats from 2, and at the bottom by virtue of goal difference. No goals scored at the moment, but 23 conceded up against the Backers B side, who got that huge win over Vikings A last weekend.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Backers B will be on a high after getting that win over Vikings A last weekend. They'll want to do it over the B team this weekend. I can see Backers B maybe winning on that one, but you look at the stats, of course, no goals scored for Vikings B so far.
So looking elsewhere then, Mixed Division 1, 3 games this weekend, and the early pushback at 11:05 is a QE2 in the west of the island, and Vikings C, a tough start for them at the start of the season, 2 defeats from 2 so far, and they're going to be taking on a Valkyries B side, unbeaten with a win and a draw in their opening 2.
Yeah, and it's like you say, Vikings C just not having the form at the moment, but Valkyries B looking really good. Valkyries B win on that one.
Mixed Division 1, 12:35 pushback at the NSC, and that's Harlequins B against Backers C. Backers C top of the table with 2 wins and 2. Harlequins B, again a mixed start for them, a win and a draw. So Backers C, what chance do you think they've got of extending that 100% start?
They sound a good chance, but Harlequins B will definitely give them a good run for their money. Of course, Harlequins B's last game was cut short due to weather conditions. I'm going to probably go on the fence here on this one.
Rounding up Mixed Division 1, 2:05 at Ramsey Grammar School in the north of the island. Valkyries C, who are still looking for their first win of the season, picked up a draw and a defeat in their opening 2. They're going to be up against Ramsey A in the same position, in fact, a draw and a defeat so far. So can either side, Ben, get their first win of the season? And if so, who, in your opinion, is best placed to do that?
Looking at the way things are going so far, I agree with you, Rob. I think both of them very much are evenly matched, and I think I did put this in my preview looking ahead to this weekend. I think Ramsey might just have the edge here, but I am on the fence on this one.
Okay, then that's Mixed Division 1. Then looking to Mixed Division 2. All of the games taking place at Castle Rushen High School. The first of those, an early pushback, is at 11:05. Now, this is a division, again, just a reminder for those who don't know, is dominated by Castletown teams. Half the division is Castletown teams. Great to see Castletown turning so many teams out, but plenty in there who are also mounting a challenge. So the early pushback in Mixed Division 2. 11:05 is Castletown Cosney, a win and a defeat in their opening 2. They're going to be coming up against Ramsey Ravens, who are still yet to get their first win of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the league table so far, and in this league, there is 4 teams level on points. It is just goal difference that separates them. And I mean, 3 of the teams have all got the same goal difference. So this league is looking really close at the minute. Castletown Cosney sitting third on the goal difference. Ramsey Ravens, they've not been there too much, but then, of course, Cosney newly promoted from Division 3 last year into Division 2. And Ramsey Ravens, I'm sure, want to go and get that first win of the season. I'm gonna go for a Ramsey Ravens win on this one.
Very well. And then at 2:05 at Castle Rushen High School, Vikings D, third in the table after 2 games, a win and a defeat, scoring 5 and conceding just the 1 at the moment, but with that defeat on their record up against Castletown Camegs, who played just the 1 so far, Ben, but that one was a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is another match between 2 teams who are locked level at the top of this league. And I think this one's going to be very close. They're very evenly matched sides, the 2 sides. I'm sat on the fence on this one. I think Vikings D possibly might just edge it with their experience, though.
And another team that are at the top as well after 1 game with 1 win so far. That's Bacchus Mixed Colts. And they'll be facing Castletown Cushags in the 3:35 pushback at Castle Rushen High School. And it's top versus bottom here, Ben. Bacchus Colts at the top at the moment by virtue of goal difference. They're level on goal difference with Castletown Camags. It must be said, both of them with the same for and against in terms of goals. But Castletown Cushags, a draw and a defeat in their opening 2 games so far.
Yeah, and of course, Bacchus Colts have got that game in hand because obviously their game last weekend against Castletown Camags was postponed due to the waterlogged pitch appeal. Bacchus Colts are looking really strong so far this season. Again, like you say, Castletown Cushags. With Castletown teams in this league, we just don't know if it's their 4th, their 5th, or their 6th team. But it looks like all the Castletown teams in this league have been very much evenly split out. I'm going to go for a Bacchus Colts win on this one. One thing to note on the games at Castle Rushen High School, due to the attendant who would normally be there from the MSR being ill, there is no cover. However, the pitch will be open, but there will be no facilities for toilets open. Unfortunately, you'll have to use the swimming pool, who are going to be open for using toilet facilities. We've just been asked to advise all players and umpires about that.
Excellent, thank you very much for that, Ben. Yes, so if you just missed that and didn't get the full message there, for anyone attending or part of hockey matches at Castle Rushen High School tomorrow, whilst the pitch will be open, there will be no toilet facilities available there on the day tomorrow. So please just bear that in mind if you're heading over to Castle Rushen High School to catch the hockey action. Finally, Ben, in terms of the senior leagues, at least Mixed Division 3, 11:05, the early pushback at the NSC. That sees Bacchus Mixed Bucks coming up against Harlequins D.
Yeah, Bacchus Mixed Bucks, a team full of a lot of young and upcoming players, and with a couple of, older experienced players in the squad. Harlequins D, very much the same. This could be a very evenly matched game, I reckon. I think I'm going to stay on the fence on this one. I'm going to say there's a few games this week and I'm having to sit on the fence here.
Both of them have had identical starts, both with a win and defeat so far. Bacchus Mixed Bucks and Harlequins D. 12:35, one of 3 12:35 pushbacks in Mixed Division 3 is at QE2, and that sees the current league leaders Valkyries D, 2 wins from 2, leading by virtue of goal difference, up against Bacchus D, second to Valkyries, only by goal difference.
Yeah, this is going to be a big, massive clash here. Could either side be split, or is one team going to lose their 100% record? We'll wait and see. Valkyries D had a fantastic win last weekend over Ramsey, scoring double figures. Bacchus D had a good win as well over Castletown Carricks, a 6-1 win there. It's going to be a tough one to split between the 2 Division 3 sides. I think, though, Valkyries D might just go and pip it.
Elsewhere, 12:35 at Ramsey Grammar School. Ramsey rookies yet to get off the mark so far. 2 defeats from 2 at the bottom of the table by goal difference, up against Harlequin C. 6 so far with a win and a defeat.
Yeah, like you say, it's looking really tight so far in this league. Only a couple of points split on either side. Ramsey rookies really are using this team as a development, getting their younger players experience for the senior leagues, which is great to see. All the younger players coming through and getting that senior chance. I think Harlequin C, though, might just be too strong for them on the day.
Very well, and then rounding out Mixed Division 3, 12:35 at Castle Rushen High School. Castletown Carrick, 2 defeats from their opening 2 games so far, up against a Vikings E side, still looking to push toward the top in these early stages, who have a win and a defeat so far, up in 3rd.
Yeah, and again, Castletown Carrick, another team development as well, against Vikings E, who, again, they've also bringing a lot of younger players up. This one will be a really good one. I think Vikings E, though, just on the experience, will probably just get this one on the day.
Last but certainly not least, we'll just give a very quick mention as well outside of the senior leagues. We do have 3 games penned in for the mixed under-15s league this week.
Yeah, and they're all 3:35 pushbacks, and the first one is Harlequins against Backers at the NSC, Valkyries against Castletown Savers at QE2, and then Ramsey against Castletown Sharks at Ramsey Grammar School, all at 3:35.
Ben Cunningham, thank you very much indeed.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, now we're going to be turning our attention to the footballing side of things, and we're joined in the studio by our football correspondent, Tony Mepham. Tony, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. Apologies, just trying to get along the promenade. It was a bit of a trip, but we got there. If you're going that way, Ben, I'd go around the back somewhere because it's pretty busy out there.
Travel advice from Tony Mepham out there. So, yes, Tony, thanks very much
as
always
part of the service.
for joining us. Okay, let's take a look ahead. We've got a couple of minutes before we then have to move things on just ever so slightly. But in terms of the footballing side of things, we'll just quickly start. Just very generally to look at the Canada Life Men's Premier League, 2:30pm kick-offs. We do have an earlier kick-off in there as well, which we'll come to. Let's just take a look at those Canada Life Men's Premier League games. We'll start to take a look at those. Out in the west of the island to start things off, Peel, they'll be taking on Braddon this weekend.
Yeah, this is the game I'm going to go to, Rob, because obviously there's going to be a minute's silence for Cian Broadhead, who lost his life recently, and I'm sure it's going to be an emotional occasion. Braddon, big thank you to Braddon for working with us for cancelling the combination game as well. It's brilliant to see the support for the club, but it's just one of those, isn't it? Peel just want a game of football and try and put the troubles behind them, and Peter Kenyick's team certainly strong enough to do that. I remember watching a game, Peel v Braddon last season, and Braddon gave them a right good run for the money, but towards the end, fitness shone through, and when you've got people like Jason Chalmer, Lee Gale running at you, and then Thomas Brown as well, then it's going to be really difficult for Braddon's defence to deal with. But I watched them, I think it was the second game of the season against Corinthians, and defensively they look quite solid, but it's going to be hard against a dream team, as you like, and you'd expect Peel to come out with the points.
And elsewhere, looking at, there's 2 big games featuring all of the top 4 this weekend, and one of those over at Glen Road. 2 of the sides locked together on points toward the top, Tony. There are 3 teams level on 13 points. Corinthians top by goal difference, but both Laxey and Rushen United only just in behind them by virtue of goal difference. And Corinthians, they travel to Laxey this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. There's a lot at stake for both teams. I was speaking to Johnny Palmer last week, and we had him on an interview as well. And Johnny's really happy with the way the team has been playing, and I can understand why, because Laxey's few players missing 7 days ago, and still got a point away from Rushen. And I think they should have had the 3, to be fair, because when I look at some of the performances for Rushen, it just kept Laxey at bay. But it just depends who they've got back. If Cameron Avery's back in, I think he'll play at the back, but just it's scoring goals. I thought Ben Wazza last week had a couple of really good chances, didn't quite go for him, so they need a little bit a little bit more up front to threaten Corinthians. I think will have Dan Simpson and Sean Doyle back in, and with Ryan Burns at the back, with Baron Colley. I don't know who's going to come in alongside them, because Stewie Smith will sit this one out due to suspension. Midfield, Declan Blake, has done really well, and Josh Riding's been absolutely superb in front of goals. So you just expect Corinthians, with the experience in the firepower they've got there, to take the points away from Laxey. But I see a different Laxey at the moment, Rob, and I was quite impressed with them last week, and they'll make it tough for the Whites to win.
And elsewhere in the top 4 as well, Rushen United, who we've mentioned as well, second by virtue of goal difference. They travel to Onken, Tony, who've continued to impress at the start of the season. Onken in 4th and only 3 points further back on the leading trio at the moment. Undefeated start to the season, 3 wins and a draw from their opening 4 games, and an impressive 4-2 win away at Ayr United last weekend.
Yeah, it was, and we've taken heed of what Onken are doing at the moment. Their forward line, Ethan Levers, has been playing really well, but then you can't forget Tom Creer and the Asbridge as well, so the 3 of them are a real potent force. Josh Kenyick in that midfield works tirelessly as well, and Callum Dawson in goal is absolutely superb. He's not the tallest, I keep saying that, but ability-wise, there's no doubt about it. He's one of the best on the island. And against Russian, I think Russian last week have got a lot to thank Dean Kearns for, because he's back from injury and in top form as well. 2 wonderful saves last week kept Russian in it. But they, again, have got a good, strong defence. I thought Scott Mason, Ashley Blake was solid. As I say, Dean's in sticks. And then when you just look right the way through, the team work hard. They pass the ball around nicely. Andrew Moody's got them playing well. But I just feel against Onken and the current form they've got, I know it's a very young side, Rob, but I think they're playing way above their age band because they've been so well coached. And I'm going to go for Onken at the stadium to win it.
I will take a look at one more of the men's Premier League fixtures just for the moment, and this concerns one of the teams toward the bottom at the moment. That's Douglas High School Old Boys. 5 defeats from their opening 5 games, but it seems, Tony, that some people have been picking out, and I know I saw this personally in their defeat to Russian United a couple of weeks ago, that there were some positives to take from their performances. They're against the Union Mills side, who've only played 3 so far. Their game last weekend was postponed as well. Who needs this particular win more out of these two sides, if indeed either side can win it?
I think both sides want to win. I think they'll look at it, Old Boys. They need to get some points on the board because, as you've rightly said, they've played 5, lost 5, minus 12 goal difference. As where with Union Mills, they've just sort of dropped off a little bit because of games less played. Ryan Kelly's got himself in the squad playing, which is good to see because his experience will help the young players that are in there. Jordan Corley is key in that midfield role. But they've just got to, I think, just get a good run of results going for themselves. And I think both sides know how important it is. At the end of the season, you need to have been beaten or beating the teams that are around you. And I feel that these two will be involved in that bottom 6 for most of the season. It's going to be hard for them. Old Boys got bags of experience. Martin King's in there, Robbie Ward's in there. You've got Chris Coxon as well. They might not have the stamina that they used to have, but my word, they've still got it upstairs and they can play the role really well. I'm going to go for Union Mills, maybe just to sneak it, but if it went as a draw, it wouldn't surprise me.
Tony, thank you very much for the moment. We'll be taking a look at all of the other football fixtures throughout this weekend in just a few moments, as well as taking a little look back at the rugby so far. Don't go away.
Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome back to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. We're going to continue our look at the Isle of Man footballing fixtures taking place across this weekend. A couple more games in the top flight to be taking a look at, and Tony, bringing you back in on this. One of those games will be an early kick-off tomorrow, and that's going to be taking place at the Bowl. That is between St Mary's and Ramsey, two sides that maybe just haven't hit their stride quite yet. Yeah,
St Mary's obviously played a game less, and congratulations Josh Evans last week, who got married, and all the players were away, so hopefully they're all back and ready to rumble. But when you look at sort of majority of the players that are in there, there's a lot of international players like Carl Clark, you've got Jack McVeigh, you've got Frank Jones, and just, you know, right the way through when you look at Mark Wolfenden, Joe Berquist, you know, it just rattles off like an island team. So, you know, St Mary's are going to have a right good dig at Ramsey. Ramsey, I think it's just purely the players weren't available at the start of the season, but they've all started to come back in now. They're looking stronger, more organised, and I'm pretty certain that Ramsey will be looking to climb up the table. But the Bowl, St Mary's do play that pitch really well, and they know how to sort of open up spaces. And when you've got other people like Chris Aspridge and the likes, then I think you know, St Mary's will start off as slight favourites. I watched them against Donkin, struggled a bit, but against Ramsey I expect them to win.
Yeah, and just a bit of context in the table as well. Ramsey 6th at the moment after 5 games, 2 wins from those opening 5 and 3 defeats. One of those victories came last weekend in a 4-2 home win over St John's United. Meanwhile, St Mary's, they've played the 4 so far, just the 1 win so far to their name. And the other remaining Canada Life Men's Premier League fixture this weekend sees St John's United, who we've just mentioned, 1 win from their opening 4 games so far, up against Ayr United, Tony, who are just a little off the pace by their standards in recent years.
Yeah, they are, and I think that's down to the players that they've lost, the players that aren't available at the moment. You know, Sean Kelly's key when he plays. I think he was sub last time, but you know, just Jamie Callister will try and keep things going at the back. But the new players, you just got to be given the opportunity to sort of understand how the game is played, how they want it to be, and I'm pretty certain that they'll be looking to see if they can beat St John's. But St John's, as we've already touched on, you know, when I look at Liam Sales up there, you've got Callum Taggart, Dean Leese, who's started to score goals. It's important and solid at the back, good goalkeeper. So I think St John's will be looking to see if they can beat Ayr. And I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I just think the way both sides are playing, it's going to be whoever plays best on the day.
Indeed, that's Canada Live Men's Premier League. Turning then to Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2. Now, this could be an opportunity for those chasing towards the top to make up some ground, because the current league leaders, Castletown, sitting atop at the moment, 5 wins from 5 and a goal difference of plus 27. They are not in action this weekend, so this might allow some of those chasing the Southerners at the moment to put themselves into the mix. And one of those could be Colby, Tony, second in the standings, 4 points behind Castletown at the moment. They are going to be taking on Moran.
Yeah, Moran, I just thought last week that they would have won or competed, but got a bit of a trouncing, didn't they? So, you just don't know what Moran are going to do, trying to push against Castletown. But against Colby, it's a tighter pitch at Moran. I think, the weather that's coming in tomorrow as well might just make it a little bit slippy down there. But, both teams good enough. Both teams are looking to get promoted, or Moran are looking to get back in the Premier League. Colby are looking to sort of cement promotion. And both teams, it's important for them to try and get maximum points. And I just think Colby might just have the edge over Moran.
Yeah, and Colby, if they were to pick up 3 points of the weekend, would move to within a point of Castletown, albeit having played a game more. Meanwhile, if Moran were to take victory, they would actually move up as many as 2 places in the table, depending on results for Maloo and Pulrose United. We'll have to see how that one goes. Elsewhere, Douglas and District, still a challenging start to the season for them. 5 defeats from 5 at the moment, a goal difference of minus 25, so still looking for their first points of the season. They'll be at home up against Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys, who've played 3 games so far, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat.
Yeah, the big problem for D&D is conceding goals. They've conceded an absolute shedfall, and that minus 25 doesn't read pretty well. But I think Ramsey Youth Centre start the season hasn't gone to plan for them, because they were certainly expected with Colby, Moran and Castletown to be competing at the top of the table. So they've just got to keep plugging away, and I think Ramsey Youth Centre will win it. D&D's a tight old pitch, and I don't know if you've seen their own pitch up at Nobles Park, Rob, that big mound of soil that's looking like a scramble course now. That's under work getting levelled out, and I don't know what else is going to happen, made a little bit bigger, but it looks well. There's plenty of good work been going on, but they've been blessed with the weather this week. But I just think at the moment Douglas and District are finding it really tough going, and they'll lose against Ramsey Youth Centre.
And if Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys were to win this weekend and other results from teams above them go their way, they could move up as many as 3 places, depending on results. So maybe a bit of incentive for them. But Douglas and District, no doubt, still pushing for those first points of the season. Over at Bala Fletcher, Douglas Royal, just the 1 win from 4 so far to start the season for Douglas Royal. They're going to be at home against the Maloo side, Tony, who are 3rd in the table. One of only 3 teams in Division 2 to remain undefeated so far, because after 3 games, 2 wins and a draw so far. It's been a positive start to the season for Maloo.
Great start. And when you look at the team sheet, I had a look at it last week, and I could understand why. When you've got people like Dean Kinley, you've also got Paddy Cooper, Michael Pardew's been scoring plenty of goals. You've got the Krippner brothers that are in there. So it's really strong, and it's great to see, to be honest with you, Rob, because when you look at Maloo over the last couple of years, it's been really tough going for them, and with only 1 team, they've got 2 this year, which always helps and supports, and the players can filter through. So I'm going to go for Maloo to win it. I just think Douglas Royal on paper at the start of the season looked a lot stronger, but since then they've lost 1 or 2 key players who've transferred already, and I think that'll just put them under a little bit of pressure at home.
And running out the Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 fixtures this Saturday, St George's, of course, relegated from the top flight last season. Only played 2 games so far and 2 defeats so far for them. They're going to be at home against Pulrose United, who had that narrow defeat to Colby last weekend, Tony. But Pulrose United, if they were to turn things around and get themselves 3 points this weekend, could put them back in contention towards the top of the table. Yeah,
and I think Pulrose, to be fair, fancy their chances, because the team that they've got are quite capable of getting involved in that championship race. Castletown run away with it a little bit at the moment, but a little bit of inconsistency from the other teams is allowing Pulrose to sort of join in there, and I think at the end of the season you'll see them right up there. They've got a lot of people who can score goals, they play good football. I've heard a lot of good reports about them, but against St George's Carl Gartland is just, the players he's lost which hasn't helped because he thought he'd have them at the start of the season. The younger players have come in, and it's really tough going for them. And you just hope that St George's younger players can get better. They've got an under-18s league, which is fantastic. That bodes well for the new season. But it's just getting them to gel again in senior football in Division 2. And I think St George's are going to find it tough against Pulley.
Okay, that's Division 2. Let's take a look at the combination leagues. And Canada Life Combination 1, we were due to have 6 games. There are now 5 because a request has been granted by the Isle of Man Football Association for the Braddon versus Peel game to be postponed. That will be rearranged for a later date. Elsewhere, Union Mills, 1 win from their opening 3 so far in Combination 1. They're taking on Douglas High School Old Boys.
I'd expect Union Mills to win it. I think Old Boys, again, they've got the young players that are in there. A strong under-18s team, so it bodes well for the future for them as well. But against Union Mills, a lot more experience, some good young players in there as well. I'll go for Union Mills to win.
Elsewhere at Ballafletcher, Corinthians versus Laxey. Corinthians third in the table at the moment with 3 wins from 4, 2 points off the leading 2 sides, Russian United and Ramsey, up against Laxey, Tony, who are still yet to get their first victory on the board after 5 games. Yeah,
but they had a good performance against Russian, and I took note of that one a couple of games ago. But certainly against Corinthians, they're going to find it hard because I've seen Corinthians' team sheet, and again, a lot of good young players coming through. But there's some experienced old hands in there as well that are just helping them through. Kane Riding being one of them. He's really quick down the wing. And when you look at Kay Hugil, good player, scores goals in front of them. And while they've got him, Jack Horan in goal as well, looking really strong. And I think Corinthians will push Peel and Russian all the way for the title this season.
Elsewhere, Russian United, top of the table at the moment with 3 wins and 2 draws from their 5 games so far. Top by virtue of goal difference ahead of Ramsey. Russian United, they're going to host Onken.
And I think, this one could be close because when you look at Onken, they've won the league last year, so really good for them. But they've just got to keep chipping away. And when you're coming across the top sides, it's going to be really difficult. And that's what is going to happen here. And I just can't see them winning. I think Russian will be too strong.
And also in the north of the island, Ayr United, 6th in the table at the moment, 2 wins and 2 defeats from their opening 4 games. They're going to be hosting St John's United with an identical record in that sense, 2 wins, 2 defeats, but just behind Ayr United on goal difference.
Yeah, I think the big problem is for St John's is losing Liam Sale. He's got into the first team, which is great to see him in there, but they've lost most of the goals now, so they've just got to try and find someone else who can score the goals for them. But Ayr United, there's too many players getting moved out of the combination into the first team, so they just don't know how strong their team is going to be. But I think Ayr might just be able to edge this fixture.
Yeah, more than 40 goals last season, I believe, Liam Sale, if
right.
memory serves me correctly. Rounding out Canada Life Combination 1 this weekend, Ramsey, who are joint top on points with Russian United, but only behind on goal difference. They're hosting St Mary's, 5th in the table.
I think certainly with Ramsey, for the last 3 or 4 seasons now, they've been so strong in Combination 1, and when you look at the players that they've got there, but it's hard to understand because a lot of first team players missing, so the combination players have obviously gone into the first team, and now I can see the first team players now are coming back, which is making the combination side a lot stronger. So I'm going to go for Ramsey to beat St Mary's. I just think St Mary's squad's not strong enough, and he'll find it very difficult against Ramsey.
And very quickly, Tony, let's take a look at our Drug Limited Combination 2. We've got 6 games there tomorrow.
We have got 6 games, and the Combination 2, it's full house because 3 of the teams haven't got first teams, which 1 or 2 of them are looking quite strong and having good results. But Ramsey Youth Centre against Douglas and District, I'm going to go for Ramsey Youth Centre. Jims against Michael, I expect Jims. They had a good result recently. Malou against Douglas Royal, I'll go with Douglas Royal to win. Colby against Moran. Colby dipped, they had that defeat recently, but they should hopefully pick up maximum points against Moran. Castletown against Douglas Athletic. Douglas Athletic, even though it's a lot of older veteran players playing, they're still very strong. I'll go with Athletic. And Pulrose against St George's. Pulrose top of the league. Got to go for them to win.
And a bit of context for the league table as well. Pulrose United currently top. Their 5 wins from 5 means they are 6 points clear at the moment of Douglas Athletic and Castletown, who both play each other, as Tony's just mentioned, this weekend as well. They're both 3 wins from their opening 4, both hoping to close the gap potentially if Pulrose United were to slip up against St George's this weekend. Quick look then also towards the football taking place on Sunday. The Canada Life Women's League returns for the latest fixtures as well. All games on Sunday in the Canada Life Women's League kicking off at 2 o'clock. First off, down in the south of the island, Rushden United taking on Douglas Royal. Tony, from Rushden United's perspective, as a newer team coming into the division, how much will they use a game against an experienced team like Douglas Royal as a bit of a barometer of where they are?
Yeah, I think the thing is with Douglas Royal is the players that they've got out, and Kayleigh Georgeson is one of them that has come in and made them stronger. Rushden, the players have just got to get used to it. A lot of them haven't played women's football before they've come in. Donna Harrison's got bags of experience, the manager, so she'll be teaching them, what's expected from them. And against Douglas Royal, I think they've got a really good chance to try and get a close game out of it, because as long as you're not playing Peel or Corinthians, you're in with a dib, I think, in that. And against Douglas Royal, I think Rushden will be looking to see if they could do something, and is on home soil, so Rushden will fancy the chance in a large crowd.
And just very quickly, Tony, those two other games, Onchan versus the defending champions Peel, and also last year's Women's FA Cup finalists Malou up against Corinthians. Yeah,
Corinthians, the score last week, it's just one of them. It's very difficult when you've got a side new to the league, and then you've got a side who's dominated the league with another club right the way through. But I've got to go for Corinthians to beat Malou. I think Malou are one or two players missing of quality this year. And Onchan against Peel, I think Peel will prove too strong.
Tony Mepham, thank you very much indeed.
Manx Radio Sport.
Finally tonight, turning our attention to rugby, and whilst a lot of the competitive teams won't be in action this weekend, there is still some form of rugby, I should be saying, taking place on Ireland this weekend. And also we have a little chance to look at how teams across the respective divisions have been getting on in the early stages as well. And joining us, as usual, is our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian. Dave, first of all, before we take a look, I guess, at how the respective teams have been getting on so far in these early stages, although we don't have any competitive games as such this weekend, there is still some rugby action going on Saturday.
Yeah, Vagabonds, Western Vikings and Castletown are all getting together for some social rugby up at Ballafletcher. That all gets underway around about 2 o'clock. And, of course, it's Rugby World Cup Finals Day for ladies. And there'll be a watch party in Vagabonds Clubhouse. I think the first game is France-New Zealand. That's kicking off around about 12:30. So the Clubhouse is going to be open from lunchtime onwards. And then, of course, they've got the World Cup final at 4 o'clock between England and Canada. And I'm sure, and I say it's Western Vikings, Castletown and Vagabonds playing the social stuff. I'm sure if anybody else wanted to have a bit of a trot around on a cold, wet and windy Saturday afternoon, I'm sure they're not going to be turned away if they turn up there at Ballafletcher around about 1:30 and indicate that they've got some boots in the car.
Yeah, if you enjoy some signature Manx weather of a little bit of rainfall and also a healthy dose of wind, I guess, then maybe that's maybe if you enjoy that, you can embrace some rugby tomorrow. But of course, as we've alluded to as well, teams not in action tomorrow, the likes of Douglas, Vagabonds ladies, and Ramsey. Given that we do have the Women's Rugby World Cup final taking place tomorrow, but just quickly, Dave, we've got a few minutes just to take a look at how the teams have started their respective seasons. We're only a couple of games in, so we must caveat it with the fact it is very early in the campaign. But just taking a look at Douglas to start with, 2 wins from their opening 3 games, and those 2 wins coming at home, including a rather commanding win over Altrincham Kersal last weekend. How do you think Phil Kringle and his players will be thinking this start has gone?
They're going to be very pleased, I think. They had the tricky game away at Sandbach. That didn't work out so well for them, but they put in a really good performance and were unlucky perhaps to come away with a defeat there. They've won the 2 at home. That's great stuff for them as well. Sandbach, looking at them early on, were potentially, for me, one of the top sides. So Douglas getting a positive result at Sandbach was brilliant. And since then, Sandbach have dropped points at home as well. So that's given Douglas a real lift, and they're up into the top 5, subject to top 4, subject to whatever else happens this weekend, and maybe a couple of rearranged games on. But the weekend was left free for Women's World Cup final and to give everybody an opportunity to get behind England and support them, because we are part of the English Rugby Football Union, so England makes sure that everyone gets the opportunity to watch the big games. I think Douglas will be reasonably pleased after the lacklustre starts, I think, to the last 2 seasons. They're looking pretty sharp this season and may be there or thereabouts come the end of the season.
Okay, looking at Counties 3 ADM and Lancashire Cheshire, it's been tough starts for both Vagabonds and Ramsey, 2 defeats from their opening 2.
Yeah, the problem I think that both clubs have is that we had, before COVID, we had a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a civil war, that sounds too dramatic, but there was a little bit of dissatisfaction amongst some of the clubs in Lancashire and the southern part of Cheshire as well about travelling distances, particularly because the northern sector is made up of 3 counties, Lancashire, Cheshire and Cumbria, and going from Duckingfield and East Manchester up to Carlisle is a bit of a long haul. So you can kind of understand the frustrations. They weren't able to work that out properly with the RFU, and 32 clubs from memory all left the English Clubs Championship. Couple have come back, but by and large there's a lot of teams playing outside of the English Clubs Championship, which means that the opportunity to play against perhaps more evenly matched teams isn't there for Ramsey and Vagabonds. Bury were a quality outfit. They give Ramsey an understrength Ramsey, to be fair, but they give Ramsey a proper thrashing a couple of weeks ago. 116-0, that one finished. And that's, I think, the problem with a lot of clubs missing out on English Club Championship rugby, that the pool has been evaporated a little bit, and you're still having potential mismatches, and I'm sure we may see a couple of them as the season progresses. Both Ramsey and Vagabonds will be looking or targeting home wins against some of the teams that will be struggling around the bottom end. They've got 13 fixtures to play in Phase 1. The league will then split into 2 halves come roughly the end of February, and everybody will play each other once in those 2 mini-conferences. And that may give them a better target if they manage to get into the bottom half, or they struggle to get out of the bottom half, whichever way you want to look at it. But up at the top end, the teams like the likes of Bury, who are looking very, very strong, it's going to be difficult to come anywhere near them this season.
I'm thinking in the long term as well. In just over a month's time, we do have that Manx derby as well in the Counties 3 ADM, where Ramsey host Vagabonds at Morrow Park. That could be some occasion, that particularly given the significance it could be if the table looks as similar as it does right now in a few weeks' time. But we don't know. That is to come. And just very quickly, Dave, a quick word on Vagabonds ladies. Just the one game so far, but it was a bit of a chastening defeat to Sale 1861 FC's second 15. What do you think they'll have learned from that experience?
Well, that's a difficult question. We were talking to some of the players and Coach Jack Kane on the touchline last week, and Sale arrived with only 13 players. The RFU have a system of play known as game on. You must play a minimum of 10 aside, and then the result will stand. So there was 10 aside that was played last week, with full rotation off the bench players. And Sale were clearly more suited to the speed tempo of a wider open game. It remains to be seen how they fare if they have to play a full 15-side game, which is a little bit slower, and the advantages they have from their quick girls aren't necessarily going to be there. That said, it's early days yet. That may be a little blip for Sale, and if they're as good at 15s as they were at the 10-a-side variant, they're going to do well. For Vagabonds, they may have been competitive on a 15s game, but Sale were just a little bit too sharp for them, and clearly the experience that comes from those Sale girls with training with their first team is going to be very important for them, and it clearly gives them an edge. And I did double check. I did my research on Sunday. I double checked those Sale players. There weren't many first team caps in that team that played Vagabonds last week. I think one of the girls in the second row had played 4 or 5 first team games last season, but aside from that, there was virtually nothing there. That appears to be a genuine Sale 1861 second team, so there may be a team to watch out for in this league. Vagabonds, they've got to start picking up some points, but it's only very, very early days, so a bit too early to tell. I've got my fingers crossed for them because they definitely got the players there, and they did run in 4 tries against that quite good Sale team last week.
Very well. Dave, thank you very much, as always, for your time, and thank you for joining us on Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio this evening. If you want to catch up with anything you may have heard or may have missed in the programme earlier, please make sure to check out this programme as a podcast on the Manx Radio website later this evening, and all the latest sports news available at manxradio.com. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and a wonderful weekend as well. But from us, it's bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.